like that. And then now we have more recently, after His Holiness Bhakti Raghoswami Maharaj stepped down from the ministry because of his personal reasons, like he's doing a PhD in Vedic sociology, so he wants to give more time. So Madhav Prabhu, who lived or who is living in farm community near Belgaum, Gokul Dham, for last 20 plus years. So like no, he is like no encyclopedia into Vedic knowledge. He has lot of knowledge in different fields like construction and farming, cow care, and education is his main area also. Uh, and we are all doing all these things because our founder Acharya is doing Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada gave a lot of instructions, guidance 50 years back, and in all his teachings, this is the very important area that he said that ISKCON should work and develop, introduce in the larger society. So taking this as our main missionary activity, so we have been learning a lot of things and doing all these seminars to share the whatever the knowledge we are learning from our Vedic texts, and also living on the land. Myself, also like I am taking care of farm in South India near Udupi. So and we are trying our level best, and in this process we are learning a lot of things that were practiced maybe 100 and 150 200 years back, and fortunately we lost all this all we are losing all that knowledge, but somehow or other by doing a lot of research and meeting like-minded people, again we are like no getting this back this knowledge and sharing with as many people as possible. And we have few other speakers like Dr. Sri Kumar Prabhu and Dr. Srikala Mataji, and I think Abhishek Prabhu, who are from Jaipur. So they all will be
Vishnunam Prabhu
sharing.
and all. Yeah.
Vishnunam Prabhu, he's one of our co-protection ministers for India. So all these devotees who has a lot of knowledge, not only theory but also practical. Unfortunately, we are on online, so we cannot do a lot of these practical sessions. But once things changes in the coming days or coming months, we can have uh,
On
practical
ground. Yes.
sessions, yeah, on ground or practical sessions
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
And one point I just wanted to touch and close this is like no. Uh, uh, most of the topics that we are going to hear practiced some 100 and or maybe as I said 150 200 years back, but we are trained and educated in a different schools like this modern education. So we only need that paradigm shift to understand or to educate ourselves on these things. So uh, please uh, get benefited from these topics, and you are free to exchange your views whenever you have given the opportunity. And all these sessions will be recorded and will be shared also. Later on you can hear all these sessions. And yeah, so once again I thank you all for giving your valuable time to learn this knowledge. And hopefully you all will have good time, and in the future will somehow or other or in some place you you all should be implementing these concepts that all of you are learning. Hare Krishna, and thank you all once again. And I request Vasdam Prabhu to move on.
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah. Thank you very much, Prabhu. And quickly, I would like to introduce our today's speakers. I mean, not today's, for the whole session. We have three speakers. They are His Grace Madhava Das Prabhu and Dr. Sri Kumar Prabhu and Dr. Sri Kala Mataji. So, of course, we may expect another few more guest speakers in the due course. Yeah. So 1 minute. Yeah. So I would like to just give a small brief introduction about the speaker. Today's speaker is Grace Madhav Das Prabhu. Basically, he is going to give an introduction about the Dirttosoil course and what is that going to be. So Madhav Das Prabhu, he is a full-time monk in ISKCON, and he is holding postgraduate degrees in both biology and philosophy. So during his postgrad studies, he came in contact with Krishna consciousness movement, and after working for a few years, he joined as a full-time monk in 1989 to 90, I think. Yeah. So since then, he traveled widely, and in 2004, upon his spiritual master's instruction, he relocated to a remote area called Gokulda in Belgaum district of Karnataka. 1 minute, somebody is muted. Yeah. So his major concerns are like, to practice more intensively on the principles, enunciated in the Bhagavad Gita. So apart from spiritual studies, he's on like more or like into regenerative agriculture, and basically he's an environmental person. He always try to share knowledge and about the environmental preservation by combining both traditional and modern techniques. So in his lectures, he advocates a holistic solution to improve the consciousness at the human level, and also he nicely explains how to preserve the nature for a wholesome and healthy life. So I would I just want to because today we have a keynote address which is given by His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj. So he's from ISKCON Belgaum. So let us watch his message. Hare
Krishna. I am very happy that a course on holistic management is being organized by the ISKCON Daivi Varnashrama Ministry. When the word holistic management is used in modern language, we think of corporate management, because that's how the term is usually employed, management. Or we think of all sorts of administration of organizations and so on. But here the term holistic is very important, because it indicates that there must be harmony with the world around us for that management to be complete and perfect. Where management essentially means dealing with resources. And what are these resources? The resources are basically those that are provided to us by nature. In the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, in his purport to a verse in Queen Kunti's prayers, Srila Prabhupada mentions that human prosperity flourishes by the gifts of nature and not by gigantic industrial enterprises. So it means that Krishna has given us these resources of nature as gifts to us, and we must learn how to utilize them. When these gifts are misutilized and we try to manage the world and manage our life, manage our society, manage nature without knowing how to utilize those resources properly, then that causes havoc. In Bhagavad Gita, such mismanagement is called Ugra Karma, because the driving force behind such mismanagement is greed, it is materialism, it is sense gratification, it is godlessness, etc. But the word holistic implies that we must see the world and everything within it in connection to the creator of the world, Lord Krishna. So Lord Krishna is the origin, the sustenance, and the destruction of the world. All the arrangements and plans that He has made in this world are meant for us to make advancement in spiritual life. But in the course of pursuing our spiritual life, we cannot ignore the material life. We have a material body to feed, to rest, to take care of. We have to survive happily here. And for such happy survival, we need to utilize the resources and gifts of nature provided by Krishna very holistically. Srila Prabhupada mentions at one place that if you have Krishna, the cows, and land, then everything is complete. All the economics, politics, sociology, and agriculture and health, everything is taken care of by just these three. And then we can make advancement in spiritual life and make our human life perfect. So utilizing the land properly, utilizing the cows properly, utilizing the products of the land and the products of the cow properly, and understanding what it means to serve Krishna in all His manifestations, not only in His manifestations as the holy name, as the dham, as His pastimes, His names, His forms, etc., but also in the terms, or also in respect of His material energy. And Srila Prabhupada explains that when we utilize the material energy in the service of Krishna, it becomes spiritualized. It no longer remains material. So there are people who are using the land for their selfish purposes, materialistic purposes. Then matter ceases to be divine as far as they are concerned. Similarly, they misuse the cows, they draw milk in a demoniac fashion from them by exploiting the cows and then eventually kill them. That also represents godlessness. Where is the divinity that can be seen when such activities go on? So, however, if we see land and cows from the perspective of Krishna, then everything becomes perfect. Krishna is Gopal, the tender of the cows. He is Govinda, the one who gives pleasure to the cows. He lived in Gokul, Vrindavan, which is the residence of the cows. He frequently went to Govardhan for his pastimes with the cowherd boys, with the gopis, with the cows and the calves. Govardhan means that which causes the cows to flourish, Go and Vardhan. So all the pastimes of Krishna are centered around the cows in Vrindavan. And he demonstrated by his personal example how to do holistic management. He did not destroy the environment. He also moved from one forest to another forest and then another forest every day, taking the cows to graze, because there was ample grazing land, pasture land. So there was no economic problem in looking after a large number of cows. Nanda Maharaj had 900,000 cows. And then the cows, because they were so happy, being looked after with so much love by Krishna and the other Vrajavasis, they gave profuse quantities of milk. And in this way, the economy of Vrindavan flourished. There was no shortage. And the Vrajavasis had large, abundant supplies of milk and butter and ghee and yogurt and so on, which they traded with other merchants to get their other requirements, whatever it is that they needed, be it cloth or jewels or anything else. So therefore, seeing these three, Krishna, land, and the cows together, and trying to manage our life, manage the world, manage nature, from that point of view, can indeed be called holistic management. Today we see that the land is simply seen as an object of exploitation. Similarly, the cows also are seen as an object of exploitation, as a machine to give milk. The cow is not merely a machine to give milk. We must certainly take milk from the cows, provided we look after the cow nicely, with love, with devotion. And before we drink the milk of the cow, we should ensure that the calf of the cow is fed properly to its full satisfaction. It is only the remaining milk that we as human beings should drink. Not everything that the cow produces is meant for humans. The first claimant to the milk of the cow is her own calf. Only after the calf has drunk, then, yes, we may drink. So, this is a very, very important point. And even people who run dairy industries, and even unfortunately our villagers in India today, have lost sight of this. They mistreat the bullocks, they mistreat the cows, they separate the calves from the cow from the mother. So this cannot be called holistic management. So especially in India and all over the world, of course, it is very important that we revive the principles of holistic management as taught by Lord Krishna by his personal example and as demonstrated in the various aspects of the Vedic culture, in the scriptures like the Srimad Bhagavatam, and also as applied in the modern day context by many, many intelligent devotees who understand how to apply these sublime principles according to time, place, and circumstance. So I'm very happy that the ISKCON Daiva Varnashrama Ministry has organized this seminar every Saturday and Sunday for several weeks. My heartfelt congratulations and best wishes to the devotees who have organized it and the devotees who are speaking in it, giving classes, and also the devotees who are participating in this. And I would end with a request to all the devotees who are participating that you may kindly go in whichever place you stay, spread this message to everybody. And I'm sure that this endeavor will draw the mercy of Lord Krishna. Srila Prabhupada very much wanted such farm communities to be set up. He wanted the cows to be protected, the land to be utilized properly in the service of Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada will be very pleased and Krishna will be very pleased. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Maharaj, for this encouraging keynote address for us. And now let us go ahead, let us start the session. I request Madhav Prabhu. Madhav Prabhu, the floor is yours, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you, Vasudeva Prabhu. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Thank you very much for giving me this little opportunity to speak. Even though I'm not very qualified, I'm sure there are a lot many more people who are much more qualified than me to actually present something like this. But nonetheless, since I have been requested, we will at least try to share something with you which can probably begin the thought process or increase the thought process that today. I will now, okay. I will now like to share my screen with all. Can you see my screen?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, sorry for this. Out of this view, how do I come out of this? Share your on top. I'm sorry, I'm not so good at.
You want to come out of the screen?
Second, I just come out and.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not so good with this technical thing here. Technical things always give me a little problem. Okay, here we are. Okay. 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 Sorry, I'm just trying to get to my slides. I'm having a little problem. Anyway, let me start in the meantime. So, yes, I think I've got, hopefully we'll have it now. How do I increase it now? Okay. Is my screen visible now to everyone?
Yes, yes, Prabhu. Yes.
Okay, so today we are starting with this session of 6 sessions of dirt to soil. Dirt is something which has no life in it, and soil is that which is living. And it is only when we have such living soil can actually we also live in this world. When our soil becomes dirt or it's no longer has any life in it, then what happens to this? What happens to this soil is that it becomes infertile or lifeless. And when the soil becomes lifeless, there is no life. It slowly dies, and when the soil dies, we also die. So our attempt here today is to, and of course with this whole presentation, is to bring back our focus back to the soil. And there's a very nice verse which we are showing you here, which is called, it's just from the Srimad Bhagavata or the Bhagavata Mahapurana, in which it says, Kamam Bavarsha Parjanya Sarva Kama Dughamahi Sishi Shusman Brajan Gavan Payodhasvati Muda. This is from the Srimad Bhagavata, in which we are seeing that it says, Kamam Bavarsha Parjanya, when the cloud showered water, then the earth produced as much all the requirements of the necessities of men in profusion. In fact, it produced all that was required for everyone. Sarva Kama Dugha Mahi. Mahi means the earth. And Sarva Kama Dugha means that who provides all all our karma, all our desires is the earth. And after that, there's a very interesting thing that said here, that when such an earth is there, when everything is going on very nicely, then you will normally see that the cows are cheerful, moving around, so much cheerful that there's so much milk in their others that the ground is getting wet with their milk. So, but today we don't have that situation. We have a completely opposite situation where the soil is dying. Our needs, all our food, our energy, water, whatever we are looking for today, our traveling, are all ultimately derived from plants. And from a wide variety of plants, we just can't have only a few food yielding plants. For everything we need plants. And the wide variety of plants that are there are able to produce all these things, which is food, energy, water, shelter, clothing, oils, whatever we are talking about, fuels, whatever we are talking about can only be produced when they are able to capture the solar energy and start the cycle of life. When this diversity of plants are there, only then can this energy cycle start on this earth. And with this energy cycle starting, with it will start the cycle of nutrients, with it will start the cycle of water, with this the cycle of life will start. And all these plants need soil to grow and to do their functions. But what is the nature of the soil? What kind of a soil do they need? And why did we call this seminar as Dirt to Soil? Because of the way we are seeing the world, we are seeing the world as something very impersonal, that it is almost like a machine. You just put your seeds in and you get your food crops back. We have been treating it like this for far too long to understand that the soil needs, the plants need soil to grow, to do their function properly. If their function is to take care of everyone else, then the soil needs to be understood. And we as human beings have severely damaged the soil and the cycle of the soil. If the soil to which the plants are rooted is poor, they also function poorly. So when the soil in which the plants we are planting is poor, poor means what? Okay, that we will discuss a little later. If the soil is poor, then the plants will start functioning poorly. When they start functioning poorly, they will not come up to their potential of what they can be. And if they are not working up to their potential, then these plants will have so many defects. They will not come up to the level, like for example, they will not yield the amount of nutrients that they can have. They will not be able to protect themselves from pest attack. They will not be able, they'll have stunted growth. They'll have other diseases. They will have more fiber and very less nutrients in them. They will not be able to protect themselves properly by the natural phenolic compounds and other things that they have, that they naturally produce to protect themselves. In this way, these poorly functioning plants will actually result on because they are the only ones who produce food. Without plants, there is no food. We are all heterotrophs. We all depend on someone else to provide us food. But plants are naturally food producers. So those of us who are dependent on the plant, if the plants are doing very poorly, then we who are dependent on them also become pitiable and miserable. our situation becomes very bad. And that is precisely what is happening today. We are in the midst of a pandemic, a massive pandemic, in which we are all stuck in their homes. And that is why we probably have to do all these online programs. And but the reason is because this is a pitiable condition. Human beings are being concentrated inside their own homes. They cannot, they're fearful of even to go out and walk around and just meet each other. We have come to such a situation. We have we've been brought down to our knees, despite the fact that we have such great technological advancements today. We are unable to do anything. So our apartments, our computers, our money in a bank, and all the paraphernalia we have in the house, so many things that we have, our fantastic cars that we have, they can hardly help at this situation. So why is this all happening? The main reason is because there is a spiral downward of the soil. We have taken the soil to become an industry. We have industrialized the activity of the soil. So once we have heavy tillage of the soil, then we start eroding the soil. As the soil starts eroding, and there isn't enough residues added back into the soil after the soil has actually been utilized for cropping, then the soil, which is depleted now, it has the organic matter decreases, because with every cultivation that you do on your soil, you plow it and you put your seeds and you cut everything and you take everything away. If there's something remaining, you burn it. So organic matter in the soil reduces. Organic matter means the matter of plants, which has got carbon as a basic. This very matter decreases in the soil. As this organic matter decreases in the soil, the aggregates of the soil break down. Now, what is the aggregates of the soil? The soil has actually, as a skeleton, the mineral aspects of the soil, which is basically silica and maybe some other parts of degraded parts of other items like clay, other particles of stone, etc. Different kinds of things that are actually like this, like the, the skeletal matter of it. So now this is there. So these particles are all there. But now we have decreased the organic matter in the soil. So what happens is that it's like removing the packaging material of a thing that you have brought. When we buy apples or anything, they put some packaging material around the apple box, around the apples in the box. So when we remove the packaging material, the apples all come together and they start interacting with one another and they become very packed up. So similarly, also the soil, when you remove the organic matter, which is actually there in the soil, what happens is that you start backing up all the soil particles packed up together. When this happens, then there is nothing in between the soil particles that will actually allow or hold this to the water and the air that is there. So the surface becomes very compacted because they are all hard particles that are there, clay, silica, and all the other particles, broken down particles of different stones and other things like that. So they become very compacted. And this compact leads to a crust formation because the water now cannot infiltrate into this soil. When the soil cannot be infiltrated by the water, it flows on the top of the soil. And with it, it starts taking away because the loose particles of water, soil that is there is removed by the water. And it also has, as the water naturally is also a solvent, it will also dissolve things that it can. the calcium and the other particles, other things that are there, the iron, it'll start dissolving that and removing it from the soil. And as this thing happens and the water is not going into the soil and it is not being absorbed by the soil and it is compacted and it's flowing on the top, so it forms a crust which allows some algal growth to take place. And this algal growth actually prevents the water from, again, penetrating further into the soil. And as this thing happens, the soil is more and more compacted. The compaction of the soil makes it hard. So every year, as the years are going by, our soils are becoming more and more hard. It is becoming like concrete and when it dries up. And the penetration of water into the soil is hardly a few inches. Even I've seen in our areas where we work, even in the middle of the rainy season, we have hardly 6 inches of the water, soil actually wet. But most of it is just hardly 6 inches has actually penetrated into the soil. So when this thing is happening in our soil, which is there, followed by erosion, insufficient addition of residues, and decrease in the organic matter, then the aggregates are breaking down. Then it is exposed to the air and the water. It is exposed to the air during the dry season, and with the wind, it gets blown out. And in the rainy season, whatever loose materials of soil are there, they're all being flown out by the water. Now, more organic matter is lost as we do more and more cultivation. As the years go by, we do more tillage, we disturb the soil more. The more and more of organic matter is lost from the soil. As more and more organic matter, and as we expose the soil, tilled soil to the sunshine, at a given time, we have measured it in the hot sunshine in the summer months, the temperatures reach up to 72 degrees of temperature. From 60 to 70 degrees temperature, the soil is literally being fried every day for day in and day out for months together. And when such frying is taking place, all the organic matter is actually again further being going into oxidation. It becomes just like, it is again further lost. It is burnt up. The carbon itself in it is lost. It is getting burnt up. It gets lost again. And as we lose more and more organic matter, there is less and less capacity of storage of water in the soil. For every percentage of organic matter in the soil, it stores something like, I think, 93,000 gallons of water per acre. So much water is actually not being stored in the water because the soil cannot store the water. And as soon as the temperature is also there on the soil, as soon as the temperature in the soil increases above 31 degrees temperature, practically all of the water that is there in the soil, all the water that is stored in the soil gets evaporated away. And as there is lack of organic matter in the soil, the living organisms that are there in the soil, because of lack of nutrients for them, lack of food for them, the earthworm and the other nematodes, etc. There's so many other, the fungus, etc. that are there in the soil. They do not have food to survive there. And it's also becoming very harsh because the temperatures are very high. Now with such high temperature in the soil, very little food in the soil, who will live in such a place? Who will live in a city or a town when there is a very high temperature, very little water, and very little food? Will we ever live there? No. And that is the reason we, or even our forefathers, or our immediate parents, etc., have left their villages because there is not enough facilities to live in that. And that is because our soils in our lands have become poor. As we have less and less organic matter in the soil. It stores less water, it has got less nutrients, it has got less living organism living in it, less diversity, less capacity to actually produce a variety of nutrients that are required. Temperatures are high, crop yields reduce. As crop yields are reducing, we have to put in more and more inputs into the soil, more effort. You have to now plow the land 3 times, 4 times before you plant a crop. Why? Because the soil is so hard. There isn't enough there. There is not enough nutrients. So when the crop yields are reducing, then hunger and malnutrition results. Hard work. As this takes place, people are diseased. They move out from the land, seeking out other places to actually survive. All of this is because we have spiraled down the soil. The health of the soil has gone down. With the health of the soil going down, everything else slowly goes. And we are not putting back into the soil the residues from even what we are growing. We put only a little surface dressing on the top. We put a little manure or something like that on the top, farmyard manure, etc. But that is not enough. That is not enough. This is what is happening today. In the last 70 years, that is practically from, I think, 1945 onwards, whatever records we have, we are the amount of land that has been abandoned, arable land, that's cultivable land that has been abandoned from or giving up, we are giving up on agriculture, or even sometimes which on a land which we were able to do 2 crops, we are hardly doing 1. There are other issues, of course. In India, there are other issues why land is being given up from agriculture. Another issue is, of course, land fragmentation, fragmenting of land with every generation. Suppose a family has 5 acres of land today. Tomorrow, when the father goes away, the land is divided amongst the family members, the brothers and the sisters, and that 5 acre hardly anyone gets anything. And it is untenable to actually cultivate that personally. It could feed a good amount of people, but now it is broken up. And there is, that is another big reason why lands, of course, in India are not also being used for agriculture. And, but of course, there are a lot of lands which are actually degraded and abandoned also because of not having the quality of the soil. And rather than that, we're going out and opening new land, new virgin forest, even going out to actually open up marginal lands. I'll show you that. So while growing food, we are actually losing 10 to 15 tons of soil for every ton of food that is produced. And to produce organic food, we need at least 20 tons of compost per acre. Now, a lot of you all here in this group are involved in agriculture. And do you think people are putting back 20 tons of compost per acre? Do we have that much anyways to put back? If you're not, then we're not going to expect much from that soil. So now we have reached a point where we are expanding into marginal lands like, hillsides. When someone is cultivating a hillside, these are normally very shallow because hillsides, because of the steep slopes, you do not really develop much soil on a hillside. The soil does not really get developed so much. And even if it does develop, it is normally very thin because of the slopes, it normally, and the rainfall, etc., even the air, things get blown out. And also we are moving out to more and more arid areas to do agriculture. Which are very fragile and can degrade very fast. So here is another point that is happening here, that we are into the marginal shallow land sites and arid areas which should not be actually be cultivated. You need to cultivate in areas where there is enough, good enough scope of actually building up soil. Another area of agricultural expansion is the virgin tropical rainforests, which are last remnants of unspoiled biological rich land. And we are seeing that happening in a huge way in South Africa, South America, and other places on African, South America in particular. In India, we are losing huge amounts of forested land. It is being diverted indirectly or indirectly into different kinds of commercial agriculture. And when we start losing the variety or diversity of plants, we start losing our nutrient cycle. We lose our resilience. We lose our ability to fight against the challenges of nature. Nature is actually there. The variety of nature are there for us to actually help to take care of all the vagaries of nature or the challenges that nature gives us. But when we do not have that variety with us, we are unable to actually face nature and its vagaries, its challenges that it gives us. So with this kind of a thing that we have, we'll practically have no forest. And when we have no forest, we will have, what to speak about forest, we hardly will have any land to, or anything to even grow. And when there is nothing to grow, where is the energy flow going to take place? Now, let us look at the statistics from the point of view. We are all in India, and mind you, even though we are a pretty small country, compared to a lot of larger countries, the amount of arable land or the land that is available for us to cultivate is actually the largest in India. And that is one of the reasons. It's even much more than China. That is one of the reasons that India is actually able to support such a huge population. And it is not just today, it has been supporting a huge population. But in spite of having so much of land to cultivate, why are we actually poor? We are poor because we have let our land, arable land, to be degraded. And as we allow the arable land to be degraded, we run into poverty. Because growth at any time requires a balance. You cannot think of growing anything if the cycle of life is not completed by death and decay. Death and decay means all the organic materials that we use for our survival on this earth has to be turned back and put back into the system. When this thing is not going to happen, then the death and the decay is not balanced properly. Then how do you expect growth to take place? We all love growth. We all love when things do very well, we grow things. But then it cannot take place without the other two phases of life being properly taken care of. So this is a paradox, that how someone expects that life is going to go on very well. Growth is, we all love growth, but we don't like the other processes. But without taking care of the other processes in life, the growth cannot take place. Even in a society, if old people are not taken care of, please do not expect that the young people will turn out very good. The day we start neglecting the old people in the society, when old people are no longer valued, the younger people also will not be valued. Growth cannot take place without taking care of the death and decay. And this is something that we will all face. We all will have to face death and decay. So if growth has to take place even on this earth, we need to actually balance it with the other things. So agriculture growth of even the economy depends on what we are able to grow. If we're not able to grow, but that growth has to be balanced. And this process of death and decay is taken care of by other living entities. There's micro living entities and macro living entities who take care of this role of death and decay. Now, without the balance, it would go. So residues of all food growth, all the waste has to go back onto the land, to the soil to make it rich, so that the nutrient cycle is going on. And despite the fact that we see such things happening, we see so much of the land being lost and so much of tons of soil being lost, and so much is going on, but still there is a good news. The good news is that we cannot make minerals. Minerals cannot be made. We have a limited amount of water that can be utilized for us. Everything, most of the things except the sunshine is practically, other than the sunshine, everything else is in a very limited way. We have finite amount of it, and it has to be recycled. And so once the nutrients are lost, we cannot bring it back. Once a gold is taken out, mined, you cannot bring it back again. But the good news is that we can make soil. Soil is a renewable resource. We can make soil, and the way to make soil is organic matter. The more we can put back organic matter into the soil, organic matter can again improve the conditions of our soils. And we have to use how to do that, how to bring back organic matter to the soil. We have to use our God-given creativity. Human creativity is tremendous. It is human creativity that has given us all these computers, and we all are sitting in these computers and doing a program like this. It is human creativity. Now the same creativity has to be used to bring back organic matter to the soil. If we do not bring back organic matter to the soil, all the other things will not work. What will happen to us if there is no food, no fiber, etc. to use this, to live with. So we need to use our creativity, our labor, our money to bring organic matter to our soils. We have to bring organic matter to our soils again. With every 1% increase in organic matter, it has a potential of increasing crop yield by 12%. Can you believe that? Every 1% increase in organic matter. I think currently the organic matter, in most soils in India are below 1%. If we can, and that is where organic matter and organic matter improvement, building healthy soils, we have to implement a lot of good practices. Like, for example, we need to add organic matter to the soil, and diverse source of organic soil, because the soil only does not, suppose you only are putting straw or one kind of thing onto your soil, but the soil needs so many different varieties. You need so many different varieties. According to latest research that is there, it is showing that we need at least 32 different varieties of, we need to eat 32 different varieties of food every week. And why 32 different varieties of food every week? Because our body needs so many varieties of macro and micro nutrients to survive. Otherwise, we get sick. If we're only eating, rice, dal, sabji, and potatoes and chapati, that's very, very few in a variety that we have. So similarly, also in the soil, to be able to produce that many varieties, or to have that many varieties of nutrients, we need the cobalt, we need molybdenum, we need zinc, silicium, we need silica, we need so many varieties of nutrients, some of them micro, some of them macro, in our bodies to actually function properly. Everything has its use. When some of them is not working properly, even in the plants, it is not going to do the work it needs to do. The plant with these small materials also protect itself from its pest control. It is done by the plant on its own when it receives all the varieties of organic materials in it. But when we only try to do some kind of a monocropping and mono kind of what do you call it, fertilizer providing, we only providing NPK. What about the other, another 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 varieties of macro nutrients that it needs? Another 12, 13 macronutrients. What about those things? Where is it going to come from? And therefore, we are making the soil more and more, depleting it of its nutrients. So we need to add a diverse crop of organic materials to the soil. So I would like to say here one thing, that we not only need to add one kind of material to the soil, we are all thinking about the soil and what it can give us. We are so selfish that we are only thinking about what the soil can give us. It is high time that we also start thinking about growing something for the soil, which is not going to be for us. We need to feed the soil also. And therefore, we need to add a whole diverse kind of crops or things that we need to grow for the soil so that it also gets to feed. Then it can feed us. We have to minimize the loss of native soil organic material, what is already there in the soil. And then provide plenty of soil cover it. Don't let it be exposed to the rain and the temperature in the air. You've got to cover it. This is how we have to build the soils. This is the good news. This is what we can do. We are not here to lose soil. Losing soil is like losing your bank balance. When you're losing your bank balance, how do you think you can last? How long do you think you can last if someone is stealing something from your bank? So we have to minimize the disturbance of the soil. We cannot afford to disturb the soil. As minimal as possible, as little as possible. Those days are over when we had to do heavy tillage. We have now realized everything that soil needs to be, because the soil, when there's sufficient organic matter in the soil, it will build carbon. When carbon is there in the soil, with all the other nutrients will come to the soil. And it will also mitigate climate change. There's a big talk about climate change, but what is the place where there is maximum number of carbon stored? Today, it has become the atmosphere. But the carbon actually has to be in the soil. When the soil is full of carbon, then your soil is rich, because organic material means carbon. So whenever even traveling on your soil with your field equipment, use practices that will help maintain good soil structure and does not compact your soil. When you are moving with your moving around on your soil, we cannot afford to do it. Manage soil fertility to maintain optimal pH levels for your crops and sufficient supply of nutrients for your plants without resulting in water pollution. Most of the times, the NPK that we put in the soil actually gets leached out, and we actually result in water pollution. Most of our waterways are polluted. And not just that, when the soil is poor, the plants are poor, then they start having pests attack, then we as poor fellows, we think, oh, we got to save our crop, because otherwise how will we eat ourselves? So then we again start spraying different things on the plants to get us some yield. And that again further pollutes us and pollutes everyone else, our waters, our families. And in places where there is less moisture, in arid regions where there is less moisture, reduce the amount of sodium or salt in the soil. Because of the arid nature, because of that, the sodium will naturally come up because of evaporation. So only when you have a cover on your soil will this not happen. So we need to build soils. Some people said, so do we really need organic? Because we've been doing pretty good in cultivating the world, food. Currently, we have 22% extra food than what we actually need. And I think we are also wasting, that is after wasting 40% of the food that is produced, we still have 22% extra food in the world today. So some people asking, can can plant grows with little organic matter? Yes, it can. In fact, you don't even have to have soil at all to grow grow plants. Now you can grow it, on gravel. You can grow it on sand hydroponic systems, and so many things you can grow it with. But large-scale systems of these types are usually highly economically, they're economic monsters, and they're not ecologically sound. It's also true that other important issues, there are more important issues from other than organic matter, which while considering soil quality. However, as the soil organic matter goes down, it becomes more and more difficult for your plants to grow. The plants will have some and will not penetrate into your soil because of compaction. It will not have, the soil will not have enough aeration. The air will not be able to go inside and outside because the soil is closely packed. Availability of water is going to go down. Your chances of erosion increase. Parasite attack increases in plants where the soil is poor with organic matter. And we find that the root systems are shallow and shallow. And because of the inability or unavailable organic matter, the other nutrient cycling processes, naturally nutrient cycling processes that are there in the soil are also destroyed. And therefore, it becomes a struggle for us, which is naturally happening. We have stopped it. And therefore, the onus of actually supplying all those materials to the soil is on us. And then we start working very hard. We go out, collect leaves, collect this, put on the soil, try to do this. We put, plastic mulch on the soil and this and that. We have to work so hard to produce food. And after some, few hard attempts at producing food, we will give it up. And of course, not even ask our children to even think about it, because growing food has become very difficult. We can reverse this if we learn to build healthy soils. When healthy soils are built, then we'll see that growing food becomes much, much more easier. And it's, in fact, becomes a pleasure. Okay, now this is something which I would like to mention here, is that last year when I had come to this to the northeast part of the state and of the country because of said personal issues, I had come to this room where I'm staying, and here I did find a magazine. This is, I think, a travelogue magazine, something to do with traveling. But as I opened it, this was what I read in the editorial of that magazine, and I thought it is quite significant, and I thought I'll share it with all of you. This is the Exotica magazine in February 2020. You can even read it online if you like. This magazine is available online. It says, the editor said that we need to actually start taking this very, very seriously. Alarm bells have to be ringing. Why? Because according to what scientists are saying, that by 2050, more than half of our country, India, will be ravaged by droughts and droughts and droughts, and eventually will turn barren. And this is mostly affected parts of central India, places where most of us are living today. And even some of the areas that are lush and green and forested today. This is what is the, prognosis of people who have been studying climate change. In fact, scientists from IISc, etc., who have been monitoring all these things are saying these things, okay? And in this state, at least the GDP level of at least 7 states will be adversely affected, going down by 9%, which is about, I think, 20,000 lakh crores or something like that, a huge amount. Unbelievable. This kind of GDP level is going to go down in 7 states. Why? the soil's capacity, the land is going to become drought. One of the biggest things that you will see when you have organic matter in your soil is that it performs wonderfully in drought. It performs much better in drought conditions. In places where we don't have drought conditions or dry arid conditions, there isn't a great difference in the kind of yield that you find in lands which have organic matter and that they don't have. But of course, the quality, the survival, the diseases, there are different things that have the texture of the soil, the tilt of the soil, etc., is different. But in places where we see it very pronouncedly happening is where when the drought times or the dry times come, even in the areas where we have good rainfall, you will see the plants when there is rain growing pretty much uniformly. But you will see when the rain goes down, you will see the land which has organic matter does not go down. So this is what is going to happen in most of the other parts. At least they're saying 7 states of India, seven most populous states of India will suffer. And when this thing happens, it is not that it's going to the other parts of the country are okay, so everything. No, these people from these populous states will actually go to these other states where there is water. And when such migration of people take place, obviously there's going to be riots, there's going to be conflict, there's going to be fighting, there's going to be, what do you call it, resentment from those people from where, to the areas where you're going. So this is going to create a huge havoc. It's already happening, and it's going to happen in much larger quantity as the years going to go by. And don't think that it's very far away. And it's not that it's going to all happen after 30 years. No, as the years are passing by, you will see the effect of it coming. And my point is that, are you preparing your children for it? Are you preparing your grandchildren for it? Do you understand what we're talking about? If we do not reverse this, and this can be reversed by understanding the importance of organic matter in the soil. A drought-prone area, even with 300 to 400 millimeters of rainfall, can sustainably keep people living in it if there is sufficient organic matter in the soil. And we also, it is not the only thing, mind you, organic matter is not the only thing. We also have to be water-wise. That we will also see in the next sessions that we have. Today, I'm only dealing with soil and the soil, need for organic matter in the soil. But that does not mean that you have not to be water-wise. You have to be water-wise. You have to budget your water. You have to also do different things to actually see that your water in your soil increases, the water cycle improves. But mind you, a large part of it is done by the soil. The greatest storage place of water is your soil. And groundwater depletion, we have to stop the groundwater depletion. If you're using more water than what the rainfall is supplying you per year, you are not supposed, you are actually depleting your soil. You're cutting into your the storage or the resources of tomorrow. And do not think that you're not going to suffer for it. Okay, so we will face severe consequences if we are not careful about what is happening for us. So now coming back to the issue is that we as humans are tool-using species. We all use tools. And it is through this that we deal with the ecosystem that we have around us. We deal with the world around with us. Now, as human beings, we have, normally people say the tools that we have are only a few, maybe, yeah, but we normally see technology as a tool, but technology is not the only tool that we use. Sometimes we try to target technology. We think, oh, technology is the problem. No, technology is only one of the tools. When the other things are not utilized properly, it can also cause great damage. So until unless you don't understand all 4 of them and know how to use them, sometimes we're only blaming technology for all the difficulties that's happening with this, but we don't understand that even a matchbox is a greater, what do you call it, a greater enemy to our survival on this earth than even some of the technologies that we are using. So even rest, for example, we know technology, the tools that we have as human beings are only four. Okay, technology means you use anything, even a piece of stick to lift a weight. You put it in as a fulcrum, and you use it to lift a harder kind of weight, or to lift or to use a piece of bamboo with the weight on two sides is also technology. So using technology is as humans, we all use technology. We cannot do anything. We will not be able to live in this earth without using technology. This is our specialty. And of course, overusing technology is bad. That's also there. Overuse of technology, or technology itself, when we get efficiency, we tend to overuse technology. And overuse, when you use technology more, it leads to overconsumption. And when overconsumption takes place, we have a resource depletion. So technology needs to be responsibly used, and so has to be used. We have to use fire. It is fire that is actually, in most of the cases, that most of the things that we are using today has to do with fire. If we didn't have fire, we will not be able to make anything. All the, even the computers, the phones, anything that we're using has fire as an element, even the food that you. So we have to use fire. Again, fire misuse can do such damage. And of course, we have used living organisms also as tools. We have used them in the past for carrying things, for traction, etc. So you may be thinking that today we don't use so much living organisms. No, we have. What about the antibiotics that we do? Now today we're talking about vaccines. These are all, a result of living organisms. Probiotics, the yeast, the bread that you eat, everything. Nutrient cycling that is taking place in the food digestion that is going on in your stomach is all done by organisms. So these are tools for us to actually rectify our ecosystem. And of course, the one that I did not mention as yet, you must be wondering, what is rest? Rest is, which is a commonly used tool, but we don't realize that it's a tool that we use. The very fact that we have a lockdown situation today is actually resting the system. When someone gets sick, we tell them to rest. When the ecology is damaged, we try to rest it by creating, calling it a forest reserve, or calling it a wildlife sanctuary. We don't allow people to go into those areas. We rest the land. But too much of rest will also destroy the land. That is a whole different subject matter. Too much of rest, we all having a pandemic, we're resting, we all not asked to not go around. Yes, we see a good result on one side, but rest has also its consequences. Too much rest will bring us to something else. So rest is also required. Any of these four, if properly utilized, can help us to actually restore. And one of the things that we have not utilized at all, or very rarely have misunderstood, is that of living organisms. And that's especially that of herbivores. In fact, this a good part of this discussions that we will have in the seminar in the next another 5 sessions of this, is that we will actually talk a lot about the role of cows in restoring our environment and to build our soils. But again, not to be, not to put you onto this idea that it is the solution for everything. No, that is a reductionistic approach to the world. This has put the world in a lot of difficulty. To think that to separate or break up the whole, everything, the whole into its parts and try to manage them separately and isolate them for study and management, and think that, okay, now this thing has all these parts are there. Suppose a machine, there are all these different parts. So we just take them all out and make sure all of them are properly there. And then we'll say that, okay, now if all of them are put up together, then they will all function, and then the whole will function properly. No, never. That never happens. Okay, so why doesn't that never happen? Because the whole is always greater than the sum total of its parts. So when we separate a part from a whole, the whole does not remain the same. And similarly, when we remove the part from the whole, the part also does not behave the same. When the part and the whole are together, then they behave in a particular way. When they're separated, they cannot behave in a particular way. So our present day system of managing things is that we try to manage things in parts. Similarly here, also our tools are there. We have 4 tools. If we try to organize or work them only in parts, it is not going to work. They all have to be actually taken together. That is called holistic. So a reductionistic approach to anything is going to be very difficult. It's actually putting the world into difficulty, great difficulty. So now we have to, this is why we're talking it as holistic. It's a holistic, it has to, everything has to be taken together when we approach. In the real world, life, society, vitality of the world, that is, the vitality of the soil, the vitality of the plants, the vitality of the human beings, the vitality of the wild animals, the vitality of human beings, how we deal with our waste, how we recycle our waste, what we do, how we make our houses, how we live, everything affects each other. And if we isolate any one of them and try to study them in isolation, or think that this is only going to be very good, just like some people, they tend to say that they have this concept of what do you call it, a superfood. Or if you just take this food, some people have this concept that you have to take noni and it's a superfood and gives you everything that you need. There's nothing else as a superfood. Nothing is the answer to everything. It all has to be holistically approached. Without a holistic approach to everything, we will end up messing up the world, as we've already done. Because there's a human tendency to take decisions to either to solve a problem, or to take care of a need, or to take care of a want. Whenever we have to take a decision, we have to see what are the consequences of that decision. Whether we have actually solved the root cause of the problem, or we are only dealing with the symptoms of the problem. So life is complex. And in the world, everything is complex. And we need to understand how to deal with this complexity. So to deal with the whole complexity, we need to deal with the whole, not with the parts only. Only to think that we will take care only of this and this will not. No, organic matter is definitely required in the soil, but there are other factors also in the soil. And the other things that are there, the living organisms that are there, the technology that we use, the fire that we use, the rest that we do, all of them together is actually going to make a difference on whether we actually make this world better or maybe we make them worse. So coming to the point of what can we actually do from here? A holistic approach will be required to succeed. A piecemeal approach will always give us inconsistent or sporadic. So sporadic results mean great results, and you'll declare to everyone, oh, I'm doing great. And after some time, you'll get, again, the results will go away, because things always are up and down. Sometimes one thing may be favored by everything else that is there. And therefore, you get great results for some time, but then the results fail because we've not taken care of the other factors that are also there. So a piecemeal approach will always give us an inconsistent results. Sporadic results will come. Today we will have it, tomorrow we won't have it. So it is the importance, why we again and again talking about the holistic approach, is that we have to see the whole thing as one. We cannot separate anything and say that, no, this is the super thing that's going to do. This is not the silver bullet that will solve all the problem. Everything, as soon as we do one thing, it has got its linkages in the other. It is, there are other linkages to it. There are other consequences of everything which we are doing. So we need to actually understand that our decisions have to be tested in a holistic framework, considering all the factors that we have around us, whether or not it is actually benefiting us or not. We will actually be talking about, as the next sessions come up, there are 4 ecosystem processes which need to be evaluated with every decision we take. The first one is, of course, the energy flow from the sun. The next is the water cycle. The next is the mineral cycle. And the third is the diversity, the plant and the animal diversity that we have, the biodiversity that we have. These are 4 things that actually are the center of gravity or keeps the balance in our whole ecosystem. And this ecosystem, when any of them are in any disbalance, because they are linked with so many other things, they will disbalance the whole system. And then before we realize it, we'll have to bang our heads and say, oh, why did we do this? Because we have not tested our decisions properly. We have not properly monitored the decisions that are taken, or we are thinking only 1 or 2 of it is a problem. But we have not understood. Some people are thinking technology is a problem, but it is not the only problem. The way you use fire is also a problem. The way you use rest is a problem. The way you use living organisms is also a problem, because if you don't know how to do it, it's going to destroy it. Anything too much is going to have problems. Anything too little will also have a problem. So we have to actually think again, how do we approach this whole issue? And one of the things that we have, I'm going back to what do you call it, the soil and building goods, the soil, is that we all love to see things grow very nicely, and we like to see things very clean. We don't like, we think that weeds, etc., are pretty bad. But the point is that if you do not, have the earth covered with green cover, who's going to make all the food for you? Who's going to make all that? What do you call it? These soils. Who's going to harvest all the sun's energy? We do not have the capacity to take sun's energy. We do not know what to do with it. Maybe we can put up a few solar panels here and there and do a little thing like that, but that's not enough. So therefore, we need to actually understand that there is a huge, area that we need to actually understand that we are judging the world according to money, but it is not the money that runs the world. It is the sun's energy, the water cycle, the mineral cycle, the nutrient cycle, and the diversity that actually runs the world. So with this whole process, now what I would like to stress here is coming back to the point, is that everything that we are doing, kamam vavarsha parjanya sarva kama dukkamahi, the earth is where everything starts. The soil, the earth produces all that we need once there is rainfall and the proper nutrient cycle happening, the proper energy flow taking place, the diversity is in place, and the nutrient cycle is in place, the water cycle is in place. It provides us with all that we need. Now, we cannot separate things. We cannot think that one system will work properly and the other system, if it is there or not. No, when we are actually thinking about it to work, everything has to have its own use. And in this, what we are failing, and which we will also stress in this case as we move ahead, is the living organisms that are there. As a tool-using species, we know we are using a lot of technology today. We are also using a lot of fire and other organisms, but we've not understood the use of herbivores, We've not used the use of large animals that are needed in the environment. When we do not understand the use of all the organisms on this earth, our knowledge of the system is actually poor, which it's half, it's insufficient. And therefore, in the upcoming upcoming sessions, you will actually see the use of all of these in a very holistic way. And also, we will have to understand how to test our decisions in using all of these in a very, balanced way. Without using them, we will not be able to do anything. We will not be able to survive on this because we as human beings are the tool-using species. And the tools that we use are four. It is not just one. It is not just technology. So everything is important. And a combination of all of this is what makes life possible on this earth. Okay, so as our soils degrade, as our earths degrade, so will our planets degrade, plants degrade. So will our animals degrade. And that will result in the degradation of our villages. That will result in the degradation of cities. That will consequently result in the degradation of our scholastic abilities, our abilities to think, to study, to be intellectuals. The monastic or the theistic approaches, the religions will degrade. And all other efforts that we do on this earth will also degrade. So we need to reevaluate the way we do things. And one of the things that we've done for years together is to neglect the soil and its relationship to the organic matter. We will deal with more. It is not that this is the only thing that we're dealing with. We have several things more to do. And this is just a beginning. I'm just talking about soil as only one of the things that happens. But we need to deal with, because even if you want to keep cows, you need to actually have good soil. And if there is not good soil and not growing good nutritious fodder for your cows are not going to survive well. If you do not have sufficient good food, you will not be able to survive and do anything if the land that you have is not properly taken care of, is spiraling down, it is degrading. So all of it is connected, because cows do not produce their own food. They need to have their food produced on good, rich soils, which when it is rich, it will actually give us all that we need. So what is life without fertile soil? If we do not have fertile soil, life is a struggle. Unfortunately, this is no longer being taught in schools and colleges. We are thinking only in terms of money and paper money, and somehow make more money. And with money, what will you buy? Something which is degraded. So today, most of the soils are degraded. And because the soils are degraded, the food that is produced on it is degraded. They say, they previously used to say that an apple a day keeps a doctor away. But today, the apple, 50 years ago, the nutrient capacity, nutrient content in the apple, whatever it was at 50 years ago, today, it is reduced to 1/5 of it. 1/20th of it. I think it is only reduced to 1/5 is only remaining now. So it is no longer that you can, say 1 apple a day keeps a doctor away. No, you need 5 apples a day. And who can eat 5 apples a day? So we need to understand that the health of the soil is something which we have neglected for a very long time. And as a result of which we have degraded the life on this earth, degraded life in this country, degraded the life of the people that are dependent on us. And we have also become very miserable and pitiable. And this is one of the reasons we are all in this pandemic, trying to struggle and trying to make, it's almost been more than a year now. We are going through one wave, another wave, another wave. Practically no family has been untouched by this pandemic. And so it is high time, it is a good time that we actually rethink what we have done to the soil and what we need to do. I will end my discussion here. Thank you for allowing me to speak a little bit, but I'm sure there are other things that you all have to say and to discuss further. If there is something that I've said which is not correct, please correct me. I'm not a professional speaker or a presenter like a lot of others. I have my limitations, and thank you so much for allowing me to speak and present this thing. I leave the whole thing next to you, the host, Vasudhama.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhu, for this today's wonderful session, because it's really thought-provoking. Because now, like as we see, year by year, we are losing billions and trillions of soil, by tilling and even by the rain. Because the rain which we are getting, it is not that how much the rain is falling. You need to see after the rain, what happens. If we see the huge, the big dams, there we can see the color of the water is like chocolate color. The topsoil has been washed away. If the topsoil has been washed away, then what is the future of our civilization? That's really a wonderful introduction of the dirt to soil, Prabhuji. Now, I would request all the participants, if they have any doubts, they can raise their hands, and let me share the So I forgot to share the course schedule before the session. So this is the course schedule. The topics for today's introduction, and tomorrow 6th June, that is function of a farmer, and 12th, 13th, 19th, 28th, and 26th, 27th. So total like 8 sessions. Okay. So hope even I have shared in our broadcast WhatsApp group as well. So quickly we come back. So I request the participants to come up with your questions, if any, and you can raise their hands. And yeah. So the first question is from Johnson Prabhu, who is from Malaysia. Basically, he is doing he is involved in Goraksha activities. Yes, Prabhu, please go ahead with your question, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Good to see you again. After all this while, I don't know if you remember me. I think we met in Indonesia. Okay, so I really like what you shared, and particularly the point about holistic paradigm or holistic approach as opposed to a reductionist. Unfortunately, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so unfortunately, right now we are now, well, almost all of us are living in this so-called modern economy that is very much reliant on so many of these things that you mentioned, technology and all that, but most of all on money. We can't eat money, but money in the cities can buy us food. Now, from a holistic point of view, how do we shift, economically away from the current paradigm that we are in to one whereby the soil becomes the focal point for someone who's living in, well, as pointed out by Dr. Sri Kumar, not a city, but more like a slum. How do we shift from this kind of modern economy to one that you are describing, I think.
Yes, thanks, Johnson. Nice to see you again after a long time. It's very nice to see you there. You see, the basic point is that we have to be very careful. Whatever be the case, we need to make sure that the organic residues are going back to the land. That is the first step that we need all of us to be consciously taking. Every person should be conscious, at least somewhere where we put it back, the residues have to go back onto the land. This much at least we can all do, is to start taking care of the waste, or whatever waste we have, organic, inorganic waste, needs to get back. And if we can find a place where we can actually see it happening, that is the first step that we can take to do it. And second is, of course, to see whether we can actually pair up with someone. Even though we are living in the city, we need to pair up with someone somewhere where we can actually see this thing taking place. We can put our money and our efforts and our technologies to a place where, that is what I said there, we have to use human creativity, human labor, and our money to see that these things, with this use of these tools that we have, that we work towards creating a better environment for ourselves and for the future. And even if we start doing it for some short time, wherever we need to pair up with someone somewhere. We need to find out where to do it. That is the job of human creativity. The human creativity is actually meant to be doing that. How do we pair it up? Because ourselves and a few others that we can look around who are willing to do this. We need to pair up somewhere. And as we pair up, we can change the ecosystem significantly. Even a little bit of organic matter increasing in the soil anywhere, or the water content increasing in the soil anywhere, or the diversity increasing somewhere, anywhere, a little bit, will give you profound results that you can show to people around, that you can showcase anywhere. So we need to pair up with someone somewhere, someplace where this can take place. So because without this happening, we are stuck. We are in a consumeristic world, just waiting for someone to do something for us. We have to become a little proactive and find out a place where we can actually start pairing up with someone. This is what I've seen, is that without pairing up in the cities, we just can't do anything. For example, when I came here to the city 1 year ago, this is about the northeastern part of the country, and I got stuck here. I was actually working in the southern part of India, but I came here, stuck here because of the pandemic and other family issues. So I was waiting here and watching, what can I do here? And I realized that here they're using very expensive water filters to filter the drinking water. And the water, if it is not filtered and you drink, then you get rashes on your body. So I got down to making a natural water filter here, and which is working quite well. Everyone loves to drink from the water filter now. It's producing at least, I think, 300 to 400 liters of water without any cost at all. So we need to pair up somewhere where we can utilize these abilities somewhere. And now what I'm trying to make them understand here is, I see that there is at least, I think, 5 to 7 kilos of waste being generated in this place where I'm living with all the people around. So I'm trying to see how we can recycle the waste. And because the waste is not being recycled properly, what I see here is they have a massive monkey problem. The monkeys are actually scavenging on the leftover food that is thrown by these people. And they're calling, and the poor monkeys are being blamed for everything. But it is actually we are to be blamed, because we are not recycling things properly. We don't have a proper composting system. We are keeping it all exposed and throwing them all here and there. And the poor monkeys are coming and doing the work for us, actually, cleaning it up. So if we can actually do these activities properly, in pairing it up with anyone, we can actually bring some change in our way. And as we do that, as we go ahead, we will find further things coming out of our systems. We see, yes, there's something else can also take place one by one steps. I mean, I have offers for another 2 water filters to be made. So that's what I have seen now. So this is an opportunity for us to actually go ahead one by one. I don't know, does it help you a little bit, Johnson?
No, it has definitely very much. In fact, I live in an apartment just behind me. There is a hill park, and the soil is not in very good condition because I think they cut the hill. And so what I realize now from what you've just said, because previously we've done a small patch, a hugel, we call it, sort of a permaculture type of terminology. And now I realize that if I could sort of cooperate with all the other residents here, that the food refuse that they have after they've eaten their mangoes or bananas or whatever, if we could take that and put it onto the hill park and bury it under just soil, the soil itself will become so much more fertile, and we can grow a lot of food there as well.
Oh, there are better ways of doing it also. There are some very simple ways of making compost in just 20 days. Check that out. Or if you don't have it, I can send it up to you. 20 days you can make compost. And
right.
Then you can,
okay, I will get your contact from Vasudama
yes.
Prabhu. Thank you.
Yes, someone has his hand up. I think Krishna.
Yes. There is the next question. The next question from Samin Mataji.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Did you call me?
Yes, you raised the hand. So do you have any question?
Yes, Hare Krishna. First of all, I'm so looking forward to this 20 days compost. But my question is that you talked very extensively about the fact that we have to enrich the soil by organic matters. And you explained it very nicely and very clearly. But just something you said in the beginning of your talk, and you said that this is done, this is, by increasing 1% of organic matter, we can increase the production by 10%. And this is basically done through the green cover, yes? But in the beginning of your talk, you said that more organic matter is lost as we do cultivation. So it just, for my beginner's mind, this is a bit of contradiction, especially in the last course, we learned that we don't even do weeding. In our land, we don't take out the weed. We leave the weeds on the land, and that helps to enrich the soil. So did I misunderstand that sentence when you said more organic matter is lost as we do cultivation? Did I misunderstand that? Because it just, so I don't know how we can increase the organic matter if we don't do cultivation.
What I've been referring to is that when we use the conventional system of agriculture, we actually remove organic matter from the soil after growing it. And as we come to understand organic matter, then we need to learn how to add organic matter. Now that is up to the creativity of the human creativity, how we actually add organic matter. It depends on where we are, how we are. There are different ways different people are doing it. There is no only way that it can be done. There are so many ways. Human creativity is very wonderful, and we are using so many other ways of doing it. Some people are just drilling the seed into the soil and doing it. Some people are doing it by using cover crops and then planting them in between planting crops which they want to take. Some people are using some part of the land which they cultivate and some part of the land which they grow crops to actually cover the soil. So there are different ways that different people are using it to actually do this covering of the soil. So, but in principle, the principle has to be understood, that how you apply it and how to increase the soil organic matter. Because when we're using the soil, we're taking out something from the soil is getting depleted. So we need to put it back. So there are different people who are doing it in different ways. I wouldn't say there is the way. There are so many ways, and we can learn from all different kinds of people. But the final thing is, are you increasing the organic matter in your soil, or are you depleting it? So if it is increasing it, very well, no problem. You can apply any method you take. There are different people who are doing it in different ways in the world around us, according to the kind of crops that they're growing. Like, for example, if you're growing a lot of tubers, you may have to disturb the soil a little bit. So it depends on who's doing what. Different people are doing it in different ways. Human creativity is what is important for us to understand, to use it, and to see that we actually use it, bring back the carbon into the soil and organic matter in the soil. I personally would prefer a zero-till method, but yeah, there are other people who are also getting good results by using other methods.
Sorry, you prefer what?
I prefer the zero-till method.
Zero-till?
Yeah, not tilling the land and just drilling in the seeds, etc., into the soil. But in sometimes you may have to do something. It depends on when you're actually on the land, how you're behaving or what you're doing.
Okay.
And also the kind of land that you're in.
Right. So thank you very much. So does it mean that we need to test the soil continuously?
Can you come again? I couldn't get the point that you said.
Do we need to test the soil continuously to see?
Oh, no, I don't think so. I don't think you really need to do it so regularly. I think you may or may not even need to test the soil. But since we are beginners, we may use it, but it's not necessary. But if you do it, maybe you get a little better, chance of actually growing some crops that would initially be doing better. But as the years go by, you will actually learn. We will see which are the crops that will do better on our land. And as the years will go by, we will find out that the soil actually starts performing better and better. And also, it depends on the climate that we're in, the rainfall that we have, the moisture that we have. Also depends on the number of hours of sunshine that we have. So a lot of things, a lot of factors matter what we grow.
Yes, thank you very much. I forgot to mention in the beginning that I'm calling from your neighboring country, Iran. So I will tell you about the soil later. But if in the future, I didn't quite understand that this method of zero-till that you mentioned, but whenever there is time or opportunity, I appreciate if you explain.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you very much. Thank
you.
Thank you, Madhaji. The next question is from Krishna Katadas Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Please go ahead with your question, Prabhu.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Thanks for the organization team and also Madhava Prabhu for the presentation. Prabhu, I have one question. As we already learned that improving the organic matter in the soil is the first thing we need to do. And someone who wants to start the farm project and so on, and we are still not have a concrete plan where to start and so on, as we are still in the planning phase, how to make sure that we at least, since we already learned improving organic matter is important, how to make sure that we go in this direction from the day one. So is the idea that, okay, let the farm be as it is and let the natural shrubs and trees which grow according to the local climatic condition, let them grow? Or can we do much better from the day one? At the moment, it's not fenced up. Even for fencing, we are thinking like what would be the better alternative and so on. And at the moment, we are not doing any cropping there, and it's not sowing anything, but the cattle are just grazing the farm and so on without fencing and so on. So I just want to know what would your suggestions to be to make sure from day one we are moving in this direction.
There are a lot of things, because I normally don't suggest anything to anyone without actually being on the land for 1 year with them.
Okay.
Because without actually knowing the land and your climatic conditions, it's very difficult to kind of give some kind of dish out some answers to people on this. But the first thing is that I think we should just first understand the principles. The first principle is that the soil needs organic matter. Second is everything is connected. Nothing is disconnected.
Yeah.
And then now you are grazing the cows on the land. That's the animal impact. But the land also needs to be rested. Mm-hmm. Continuous grazing will actually damage your land. Just like technology overuse will damage your land. Yeah. So similarly, also the diversity that you have, you need to understand what you're moving towards and what you want to, what is your goal to which you're moving towards. So we need to actually be more, need to have our, what we call as our, the quality of life that you're looking for. What is the quality of life that we're looking for? Like, for example, we all value, what are the things that you value most in your life? We value our freedom. We value a stress-free life. We value a life of education and enlightenment. We all want wealth and good food and clean water. So once we have and very clear about what we want, or what is our desire, or what is our, what would you say, our holistic goal, what is it that we are trying to approach, then we will utilize the cows, the land, the climatic conditions to achieve that. Okay, so how we use them is going to depend on once our holistic goals are clearly made. Okay, our goals are based on what we value in life, the quality of life that we're looking for. Once we are clear about the quality of life that we're looking for, then we utilize all these factors and understand the whole game and play that is going on. It is complex. So when we're looking for good, healthy plants and healthy, nutritious food for us and our family and the cows, we have to understand it is connected with the soil and the soil organic matter. Okay, it is connected to the water that we have. It is connected to the amount of sunshine, the heat in the soil. It is connected to the diversity that we have. And so, which are the factors which are lacking and which needs to be worked on is, again, depends on our understanding as humans and human creativity and human understanding how to do all this. Okay, so it is important to understand that it is not the thing and the only thing to be done. Always, everything has its consequence. It has got linkages with other things that we do. So they all have to be taken together and understand. We cannot, the problem is that our genetically, we are only trained or, made, genetic makeup is that we only want one thing to do. Whereas nature does not work with only one thing. Nature is complex. Several things happen at the same time. So it depends on the quality of life and the goal, or the quality of, or the holistic goal that you have. What is it that you want, that you're looking for as your holistic quality of life, and how will you produce it from the land and the cows and all the environment that you have around you? So that is where you need to focus on. and then you know which one to use when and how.
Mhm.
Okay, does that make some sense?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah.
The next question is from Smita. Smita Mataji, I think she is from Australia. Please go ahead with your question.
Namaste. Are you able to hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
we can hear you.
Yes. Actually, I am from Bangalore, India, not Australia, and I am a last minute joining. Just about half an hour back, I contacted and they were kind enough to allow me to register and be here. My interest is I have a live project going on where I have to advise these developers around Bangalore in India. So we are trying to do a 125 acres project. So I have seen from my understanding the soil is really degraded, but that it is amidst the forest Bannerghatta National Park. So we want to again reforest there and all. So I have seen the land. It is the soil is something we can regenerate, and we are calling it regenerative project itself. So, but then how do I go about testing the soil now, and what is the real nutrition that soil should have, and any parameters we can know, and because when I know from my common sense, but then scientific community would challenge us. So I would like to know what is the, how do I test this soil, and then what are the nutrition that should be in the soil.
Yeah, thank you. You see, a lot of it depends on the gradient of your soil. What is the status of the soil currently? Is it just exposed to, is it just is it just some marginal land which is now we have to restore, or is it some rich soil that we are trying to build? So there's a lot of things that need to be done. Actually, as I was telling about in the previous question when I was talking to Krishna Katha, I normally do not try to kind of shoot from my hip and try to give answers for things which I don't know. My general thing is that I normally would go to a place and then check it out and see what needs to be done, and at least spend a year and then actually come up with it. Because I think it is shooting from the hip if I just try to kind of give some answers randomly. But the point is that what is most important is in our system of thing, one of the most key factors, of course, you can always test your soil. There is no harm in testing the soil and seeing what it is. Most of the factors that are there, you know at least where your soil is right now. And as you start implementing different practices to actually enrich your soil, you will actually see the difference that it makes as your soil increases. And one of the things that you will see, your soil will definitely increase if you improve the practices that we are, increase the organic matter in the soil, that you will see the soil organic carbon, or the carbon in the soil increasing. And as the carbon in the soil increases, carbon is, organic matter is almost double of what you find as the carbon in your soil. So as you see the carbon increasing in your soil, you will see a lot of things changing, but it is not the only thing. As I said, again, there are a lot of other factors that also need to be understood, because if you are having grazing animals, if you have grazers there, or if there is a fire in your case, or there is some kind of heavy machinery moving around, a lot of people moving around, there are other factors that also need to be taken into account. So I would not like to shoot from the hip and say that do this and do that. But I would say that let us first understand the principles as you go through this whole course. And of course, further with, we have a discussion group after this on this issue. Further, if you can learn the whole concept and see, apply. I mean, what we generally suggest is that everything that we do needs to be tested before we take a decision. We need to test it on a holistic management, what do you call it? decision testing matrix, test it on a matrix and see how and what needs to be done. Because it is, again, as I said, is the goal that you have. It is, what is your holistic goal that you have? And what do you want to achieve? And for that, what are you going to apply? We have 4 tools and the 4 ecosystem processes, and we have our human creativity, which has to be applied to actually achieve the goal. So until and unless your goal is very clear, what is it that you really want to achieve, then under the ground conditions, and then we'll have to test the whole system, because without doing it, it is just going to be shooting from the hip, and we don't know where we're going to shoot. What are you going to say? So, I mean, I would just like to kind of venture a kind of suggestion, but I would like to understand that let's understand the principles first and the systems first, what we're talking about, and then you can apply, you can think of how to apply it. We have another, I think, 5 or 6 sessions more, and there'll be a lot more, more influential people and much more informed people who will actually take these courses. And after that, I think it'll help you to take a decision much better. Does that help you a little bit? Because I think there are too many conditions that we need to understand before we take a decision.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
I think I'll wait patiently.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The next question is from MTM Saksham.
Prabhuji,
Yes.
namaste. I am Jagan Babu from Mumbai, Thane. We are running a senior citizen home between Mumbai and Pune. The last couple of months now. Now we have taken additional land, or very big land, which is on a very slopey area and very high rainfall area. And this monsoon, we wanted to do a lot of plantation to hold the soil. So we are looking like, what type of plants we should put so that we can hold the soil. And maybe after 6 months or 1 year, we wanted to set up a gaushala, very big gaushala, and the senior citizen home, like community co-living in a village area, village style. That's our idea. So we need to hold this soil, from erosion, because a very high rainfall. Rainfall is something 5,000 mm of rainfall every monsoon. So this is like a hilltop, hill station area between Bombay and Pune. So we wanted to plantation because monsoon is started now. So right time to do plantation. So if you can give me some idea on which type of plants we can put, that will be helpful. And anybody can, share your ideas to us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I can understand the kind of land that you have, because we also get around 4,000, 5,000 millimeters of rainfall in where we are living. And trying to plant trees with 4,000, 5,000 millimeters of rainfall is quite a task. In fact, just to carry the plants inside will be a big problem for you, especially with such heavy rainfall. We've tried doing that. We did get a lot of help to do that. Yeah, but because of high rainfall and then subsequent several months of, you have to understand that after the rainfall, there's going to be a long period of dry period for you, because when you're on top of a hill, you have that period when you have a high rainfall, then a long period we have nothing rainfall and everything dries up. So you need to look for plants that will survive your long dry season. Nothing is better than the local crops that will actually survive there. I don't know what you call them in your areas. With our areas, we call plants like kumbha and plants that are really hardy. And the ficus, definitely ficuses are definitely things that we will suggest for anyone to grow, because they survive much better. And anything that is natural, which is growing in that area, which is better to grow in that area, would be good. But I would also wait, and if you can just protect your land without getting fire and people cutting and disturbing your land, I think things will just go back. The plants will come back on their own. If you just protect the land and not just disturb it a lot, I think things will come back. That's what we did. I think Dr. Sri Kumar Prabhu, he's there. We saw our land coming up in, I think, how many, 5 years? That around 5 years, we fenced the property and we saw a lot of things coming coming on the land automatically. I mean, we didn't do much planting, but the land itself took care of it. So I think if you just protect the land, rather than doing a huge endeavor on planting, because it's okay to plant, you can also put some seeds. Seeds are better than actually planting saplings. And also you have to understand it is a long dry season that you have, even though you have 5,000 millimeters of rainfall, because of being on a hilltop and especially on a hillside, any disturbance of the land will you lose soil. And so digging big pits and all that, there's a tendency to lose soil. Best is if you can just protect it and plant some seeds, you have a better chance of, you'll within a short time, you will see a lot of natural plants coming up there. And especially fire. I don't know if you have a problem with fire there.
Not much.
Yeah, so if you don't have fire, it's good enough. So if you have fire, that's one thing that just one or two fires will destroy everything that you do.
Just dropping the seeds, because of rain, it can wash away. That's a concern.
No, you need to put it into the soil a little bit under the ground.
Okay.
Will work.
We just started the process, so maybe tomorrow we'll be doing something there.
Yes, yes.
They're thinking of putting the boar, jamun, local.
Yes. Those, whatever local is good. And if you just protect the land, also a lot of these nice trees will come up. A lot of trees will come up. In our area, we have harda, which grows very well. Then a lot of other things, amla and other things just grow naturally in that area. And birds will bring in seeds also, and they'll put it there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. The next question is from Sangeeta Reddy. Yeah, she's my god sister, Manasa Ganga Mataji. Yes, please go ahead with your question, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, first and foremost, thank you for the wonderful session. Every time I attend these sessions, things become more simplified, and what seemed impossible starts looking maybe possible. I have this, I've been asking this question, but I still didn't get clarity. I'm trying to get it. Like even traditionally while farming, like when my father speaks, when we have this small garden at home, I don't traditionally have a village. I'm born and bred in the city. But when we're trying to, do some gardening, he always told us this, remove the kalupu. Kalupu meaning literally means leaves. So here I've already attended a session, and I've been told that there is nothing like weeds, like each plant has its purpose. But then even I still think about it, and I feel like, I don't know, I'm not over it yet. Like, for example, I'll state, I went to this place, this land in a village where obviously the soil was very degraded. So I saw a lot of these plants they call Congress grass. And somehow it was very unpleasant, even when I tried to pluck the leaves or smell it. So I have this doubt in my head that, I don't know, it's not still clear that no plants are not toxic and everything has a purpose. So can I get some clarity about this? Like, is it true? Or is it possible that when the land is degraded, that it dominates with plants which are maybe not so helpful? Like, I don't think cows will graze on that Congress grass ever. So if I could get a clarity on this, Prabhu, I hope.
Yeah. Usually when the soil is very compacted, and there is very little aeration in the soil, and their soil nutrition is very poor, we will naturally get some crops that will have a very hard taproot system, which will be able to break through the hard soil and actually penetrate the the compacted layers below, and survive there with very little water and nutrients. So these are the crops that will actually be able to survive in such a land. And therefore, these will be the plants which will be dominating. Sometimes also these could be plants who actually survive or are dominant because they are the ones who are even probably fire resistant, or they're trample resistant. They're not, when you trample them also, they keep coming back, or they're grazing resistant. So what is actually seen as a weed is probably a plant that is able to, its response to the what are the biotic and abiotic factors that are actually affecting that land, they're able to resist it. So therefore we call them, weeds, because it is not something that we want, we desire it. But that is a plant that is, so these weeds are actually indicators of what the land is going through. So when we actually see what is growing on the land, from there we could figure out to some degree what the land is going through. And if we're not able to figure out, we don't have to become so intelligent that we're not figuring it out. We should understand that there is a reason behind it, because that is why that these things are coming up. Like for the Parthenium that is coming up, you say the Congress grass, the Parthenium that is coming up, it is toxic. In fact, one should wash their hands also, some people say, after you handle them. But I know some people who had 20 acres of Parthenium, and the local villagers told them to actually remove them. They spent 40,000 rupees removing the Parthenium, and just 3 months later, it was again filled with Parthenium. So removing the weeds is not a problem, not the issue. But as you increase the organic matter in the soil, the health of the soil, and higher quality plants come in who can actually take over the environment and do better in that environment, they will naturally weed those other guys out. I mean, rather, the other guys will not have the dominance that they have. They have the dominance because the conditions are such. So as you increase the quality of things happening there, you will see naturally a better quality of plants will grow and more diversity. And also, we can also plant good plants that we want. But more important to understand is to improve the quality of the soil. As the quality of the soil improves, we will see that we are spending, the world is spending close to, I think, $3 billion a year to remove weeds. And where are we going? We're not going anywhere, okay? So rather than spending $3 billion to remove weeds, if we could actually improve the organic matter in the soil, we will see that the soil will definitely do so much better tomorrow to actually provide us, you don't have to fight the weeds at that point. Because their taproot system, which is good for certain conditions, are not good when the soil is actually nice. The tilth is very good. It is very wonderful. It is very loose, sufficiently aerated. Then the other plants which will do better in that condition will actually take over. And that situation, they will not be so dominant as they are right. Okay, and even if you do have such so-called weeds, don't have to get bothered. If you think you want to do anything, they're good there. You can cut them off in the top and then put it on the soil again, and they will increase the organic matter there. So you don't uproot it, just cut it on the top and just put it back into the soil, on the soil. And as you cover the soil, you will see that a lot of weeds anyway don't come because you cover it. Even if you put a newspaper on your soil, you'll see nothing will grow underneath. So covering the soil is what is a better option than just spending time weeding. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you. I got a lot of clarity. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Mataji. And the next question is from Goloka Chandra Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Please go ahead with your question.
Hare Krishna, Madhava Prabhu. So thank you very much for explaining the principles. I was thinking that can we also get some material in advance before the session, like tomorrow's session? That maybe you mentioned something just now about 20-day compost, and then somebody mentioned no tilling method. If you can get these papers put into the group in advance, then we can read through them and come with better understanding for the class. Maybe we can ask more questions.
Yeah, okay. I mean, first and foremost, this compost is a result of 20-day compost. Is something that you can find it on the net. It's very easily available. Nonetheless, I'll still give the links to the host here. Yes. That can be useful. But and the other thing is that I think just be a little patient, and because we are doing this 3-week course, so that to give you a kind of introduction into this whole process, And then after that, we will follow it up with the group. I mean, or what do you call a WhatsApp group, where a lot of discussions can further take place and further information can actually be discussed and so I think just take it relax and go through this program naturally and just wait. And then whatever you have, any questions, etc., please take a piece of pen and paper, write it down, keep it written, and we will definitely, as the time comes, exchange all this that we have. And do join the, WhatsApp group, which is going to follow. I mean, every time we have a course, we have a WhatsApp group that is followed with it, so that we can keep exchanging all the knowledge and the whatever information that is there. So relax, and I think things will come out pretty good. And whatever I've told, I will definitely put it on the to the host, and he will give it to you. That's okay.
We are in one WhatsApp broadcast group, so we can expect materials to be put into it while the course is going on.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be done. We already done it for the first course. We'll also do it. I'm sure Vasudhama Prabhu will do it for this course too.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes.
Okay.
So
yeah. Can you also ask questions in the group also?
Yes,
yeah,
Prabhu,
you
yes.
can.
We will give you the all complete information after this question and answer session. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Then the last question is from Raghuram Prabhu. Yes, please go ahead with your question.
Namaste. Hare Krishna. I am Raghuram from Hyderabad. I'm an agriculture consultant. Basically, I'm an agronomist. Regarding this zero tillage, practically it is not implementable. Why? Because this without the tillage, you can't control the weeds which will come all across the land, especially in rainy season. For example, this Porcinium weed, which is a menace to the farmers across the country, which we got from the America. In our old Ayurvedic or pharmacology records also, there is no mention of Porcinium. We can't control all of those such weeds without tillage. And at least we require light tillage with traditional system of ways instead of tractors. With bullocks, we can do that small tillage. By that, we can keep the soil without weeds. Whatever the plant it may be, if it is opposing the growth of the whole main plant, it will be called as a weed. So ultimately, what we will have is less production, poor quality. But what soil enriching the soil is different from tillage. Enriching the soil is very, very important by putting organic matter every year by all means. But I need your opinion about the tillage, zero tillage or no tillage. Practically, I'm in this profession since 30 years and I worked across the globe. I worked in around 10 countries and I'm a Vedic farming consultant also. So can you please clarify about this tillage, zero tillage? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Raghuram. Yes, you see, as I said, I wouldn't like to suggest any method to anyone until unless there is, we actually see the situation. Because different people need different things, and it is not the only way that people are doing it. There are different ways to do it. As I mentioning when I was talking to Shamin, that there is not the only way and that is not the only system. But in some cases where the soil is very degraded, it could be one of the ways to use it, because the soil is too degraded to disturb or to till, and there are heavy rainfall, and some areas they are doing agriculture in very marginal lands. So it could be used in some areas depending on what we are doing. So I'm per se, I'm not saying that is the only way that should be done. And but in some areas, it is better to do such things to actually conserve the soil. So and of course, the yield may not be the way or the type that we would want. And the kind of crops that we could use in zero tillage could also be different than the ones that we actually grow conventionally. So as I said, I couldn't like to shoot from the hip and say only this is the way it should be done. No, there could be so many ways that we could do it. But the principle is we need to see that the land has organic matter. We increase the organic matter and see that we don't deplete it, and use minimum disturbance to the soil so that we can conserve the soil and see that we have a cover on the soil. So these are basic, what do you call it, rules and regulations that we would actually think. The others are details that could be worked out. These are the hows that could be worked out according to the place and the land that is there. Some marginal lands, I think it is best not to be disturbed or tilled. So it's especially with heavy rainfall and steep slopes. Okay, I hope that is okay with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it Vasudhama Prabhu? Is it okay?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you very much for the attending today's session. I thank Madhava Prabhu also for today's wonderful session, actually. And yeah, now what we will do is we will add all the participants in our official Dirttosoil group. So where the other previous sessions participants are also there in that group, and we will add all the participants who are registered for this course in that same group. And actually you can interact with the speakers there, and with the questions are only related to that subject matter. And the other one, which the group which we created yesterday, just that group is only a temporary group. That group will be deleted after this course. That group is only to share the program updates and any login information and all. Okay, so this is all for today, and thank you. We once again thank you everyone for joining with us. We will end up the session from now. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu.
Hi Raghu, this is Anil. You're able to hear me?
Hare Krishna. Yeah, we have ended the meeting.
No, I have a small query. I have a different WhatsApp number from the number that I have registered. Can I put it here so that you can add me in that WhatsApp group?
No, you please ping me. I think you must be having our WhatsApp number, right? You just ping me here so that I will add you there. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.